same way that you have an emergency fund, you should have emergency supplies to include groceries and so on. And I am well aware that not everyone will be able to afford this. The number one hairdresser in the world that I know. So we are on the road again, and we're heading to get some of the best roast yam with soup and corn and roast saltfish and cooked down saltfish in Jamaica. If you think you know where I'm going, put it in the comments. And I'm going to visit my goddaughter as well, but we're going back for the best curry in Jamaica afterwards. But I wanted to talk to you about a video that I was actually working on. Actually, I created the video, but I'm not able to post the video as is because things have changed for the better, which is a good thing. But I still wanted to share a part of that video that I'd created because I think it's still applicable. So, as you know by now, there was a strike of over 50,000 wharf or port workers in the East Coast and the Gulf Coast of the US, to include places like New York. Now this strike, the impact of it was, and I'll share the video, so I'll split between me talking and the video, so I'll probably jump over now and share what the impact of the strike was and also what the cause of the strike was. So take a listen to that. And what exactly are they striking over? It's for two primary reasons. One I agree with and one I don't agree with at all. Now I'm still at the hair salon with what I know is, come down here so earlier, the number one hairdresser in the world that I know. And regardless of what you want, whether you want to have your natural hair done, you want to put in tracks, you want to do full head extension, you want to do the wigs, you can do the wigs, you can't see them, but they're over there, whatever you want, she can give. The first one, which I agree with, is they're asking for more pay. And when you look at the kind of profit that a lot of these companies are making, that they deliver goods for or that they ship goods for, they are reporting record profits. Yet the persons who are managing the logistics, getting the goods from point A to point B, they have not received any increases for a while. So I completely agree with them, you know, putting on industrial action to get the increase. Now, I want to tell you what the impact is going to be, but Aurelia is finished with me. There she is over there. So we're going to move. I'm going to take you to the kind of the, what you call this, Aurelia, the lobby area. Oh, sorry, the reception area of the salon. Let me flip it and show you where I'm going. So I'm going out here. I'll give you guys a little tour. You see our place fancy? Check out the chandelier and everything over there. So, and the counter. And just, hello. Tell them your name.
Oh, my name is Howard.
This is Howard, folks.
I'm one of Aurelia's best friends.
Right, Aurelia's best friend. And he's also a rock star and watch the other channel, right? Thank you for the support. So let's talk about the impact. The first one is there's a possible shortage of items to include food, you know, everyday essentials, meat kind in the US especially. Those things are going to be scarce. And you know, demand and supply, if it's scarce, the prices are likely going to go up. So because of the shortage of items, it's recommended that persons, if you can afford to, that you stock up on a few things. I kind of made a list here, and I was in a supermarket, well, not a supermarket, but the Price Mart Club here in Jamaica yesterday, and I was getting a few things, and I'll talk to you about emergency supplies and how to plan for it. But things like toilet paper, if you have a baby food, diapers, water, starches like the pasta, the flour, the rice, if you eat those things, tin items or non-perishables, and things that can keep you going for a period of time if this strike continues. But based on what they're saying, the authorities that is, one day could result in a 1 month delay for a particular area based on this strike. The second impact is increase in prices. If things are scarce, you can't get access to them, demand and supply, the likelihood is that the price is going to go up. Also, some persons may opt to ship via air because the ports are closed. Air shipment is, in most cases, 2 or 3 times more expensive. Who you think is going to pay for that? The consumers like you and I. So that's a possibility as well. But there's a ripple effect. If this continues for a long time, supermarkets, they're not going to have the need for all that stuff if there's nothing on the shelves, right? So I don't think anybody's even thinking about that yet. If you're exporting to the US, obviously, and your exports are going to the East Coast or the Gulf Coast, as I mentioned earlier, you may need to explore other alternatives to get your goods there because there are going to be delays. If you're importing and you're using that port or those ports in that region, in some cases, you may have to explore air freight. Of course, it's much higher. Or you're just going to have to sit and wait for everything to be sorted out. Now, to give you an update, the strike has been postponed, and they were striking over 2 things, as I mentioned in that video. Higher wages, which is completely understandable, but they were also striking over automation. So let me share my perspective on those 2 things from that video. They're also wanting to stop automation at the wharf. So basically things like crane and other technology that's going to make the process more efficient. Here's why I disagree. In the life and this world that we live in, as you know, automation drives all things. And if other countries are automating their wharfs and making it more efficient, and you are not doing the same with yours, you're going to get left behind. And America claims they're a first world nation, so you can't afford to get left behind. The second thing is striking for automation or for automation to stop is a temporary fix. It's like a Band-Aid fix. It never lasts forever. I remember we were in Europe when Lyft and Uber was being introduced to that part of the world. I believe we were in London, and the black cab drivers were all striking. And I remember being in a black cab, and I said to one of the drivers, "Why are you striking? Do you realize that this way you can actually look at diversifying what you do?" And I said, "What are you going to do when driverless cars come out? You're going to strike again? What you should be doing is focusing on how you can procure a few cars that are driverless while you're at home making that money." And I said to the driver, I said, "I want you to go back to a time of horse and carriage. That man who was doing that buggy with the horse and carriage, he was worried about Henry Ford and Mercedes-Benz when they came up with the first car. But all they did was delay the process. Technology is going to happen with or without you. Automation is going to happen. It's a part of life. Striking to stop automation is not necessarily the best solution. It's not very difficult to give persons an increase that they deserve, that they are demanding. It's unfortunate that you have to wait until they're demanding it, but that's not hard. But to promise someone that you will never automate, that's a stretch. So I anticipate that those union discussions and the negotiations will go on for much longer. Now, like I was saying earlier, the strike is on hold or it's postponed. They are addressing. I have folks in the car and they're laughing at me. I don't know. Did I say something wrong?
This is postponed. It's not pound. It's not postponed. Okay.
It's what? Okay. Okay, guys, you know English is not my strong point, right? So my husband says I said postponed. What me say?
The killer is when they repeat it.
Okay. Obviously I said postponed or postponed and repeat it.
Yeah.
But we're not trying to be perfect over here. We're trying to communicate. So back to what I'm saying. Anyway, as I was saying, that they put the strike on hold until January. so as not to disrupt the Christmas. And with the impact of the hurricane as well, I believe they are being considerate. However, the strike, remember, it's about two different things. The first is the increase in wages, and oh, they're fixing the road here, honey. Look at this is where we are, guys. Let me show you. Anybody who recognize where we are, you can also put it in the comments. But it's a nice, it was raining, so it's overcast, which is how I like my days. Anyway, like I was saying, they're on hold for until January, but the strike has two parts. The piece to get higher wages, that's being addressed, or that has been addressed. The second part of the strike is related to automation. And as I shared in the other video that I was creating that you just listened to, I'm not in agreement with automation because it's going to happen with or without people. The more you strike, or striking is just a band-aid approach. It just delays it. It's going to happen eventually. So I'm hoping that they can come to an understanding when the strike resumes in January. But because the strike is promised in January, there's a portion of that video that I'd recorded that talks about ways to prevent yourself from panic buying and becoming a victim of empty shelves. What do I mean by that? Whenever you have strikes like this that impacts exports and imports, what tends to happen is one of two things. Goods are scarce, so supermarket shelves go empty, or goods get more expensive because people are now having to opt for air transportation versus sea, which air is much more expensive, as I would have shared in that video. Now, either circumstances is something you want to avoid, especially if you're operating on a budget. And what I'm going to share now is the extract from that video that I'd recorded, where I talked about how you can, without spending a ton of money, stock up your emergency supplies to make sure that when this strike resumes, or whenever circumstances happen that aren't anticipated, that result in a shortage of groceries or a shortage of food or anything for that matter, you're not caught off guard and you're able to continue to live at least for a reasonable time. So again, take a listen. It's about emergency supplies, and I hope you found value in the video. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that, as it pertains to this automation, they relax their expectations, because we live in a world where technology is at the forefront. And I cannot fathom a situation where a government is going to agree to stop automation in support of the union's demands. So take a listen, and wow. Anyway, if I get the time, I'll tune back in and show you some of the soup and stuff. Well, I will. Just remind me here because I'll forget. I'll show you guys the soup and that stuff with the roast yam. Now, here's what I want to also give you as a takeaway. In the same way that you have an emergency fund, meaning you either have 3 months or 6 months worth of pay put aside, or you should have. And this is for if you have a medical emergency, if something goes wrong that you cannot anticipate, you're able to take care of it using that emergency fund. You should have emergency supplies to include groceries and so on. And I am well aware that not everyone will be able to afford this. And what I'm gonna do here is show you a way that you can actually stock up and have emergency groceries and supplies without it costing you an arm and a leg. The way you can do it is whenever you go and buy your regular groceries, let's say, for example, you're picking up tin mackerel, which is something we eat a lot at home, or you're picking up corned beef, or you're picking up tuna, or you're picking up flour, you pick up a little 1 pound extra. You pick up a tin extra. Don't make it too much so it's overly expensive and it goes outside of your budget. And what you can do is buy a crate. I have these crates and they're not that expensive that I get again to buy in Price Smart. I think you can get them in other wholesales. Whenever you buy that one item or two items each week or each month. When you buy your groceries, you put them in the crate and you lock it. The only time you go in that crate is one, if you want to refresh. So meaning if you have had something in there for more than 3 months and you buy something new, you take what you have in there and you use it in your house and you put the new thing in there so that you never have expired goods. That's one time you should go in there. And the other time is in situations like this. If food and things like that were to become scarce, you have the ability to go into that little emergency food or emergency toiletries supplies that you build up over time. If you can afford to buy in bulk, I also suggest that you do that because you're going to save a lot of money in the long term. And this particular one, which is growing what you eat, I can't talk about it enough. And don't bother say, oh, I don't have enough yard space. As I've shared in other videos, you have these bags here that you can plant potatoes, you can plant pepper, you can plant tomatoes, whatever it is that you eat regularly, and you put them in the bag and you put them on your little balcony if you don't have the yard space, or you can put them at a little place in your yard and you wake up each morning and you throw a little water in it and you'll be able to sustain yourself with potatoes. Like at home, we don't buy tomatoes, we don't buy sweet pepper, Scotch bonnet. Well, we have ackee and all those other things, but those take up much more land space. You can do the potatoes, the carrots, the onion, well, the scallion, sorry, and those other kind of cash crops or easy to go crops or crops that require a little maintenance in these bags. And that will help you as well in cases where food or supplies become short. So that's it. Take precautions, get a few basic things that will carry you over. Please take precautions if you're able to. I'm hoping you can afford to do so that you do not get caught up in this and you and your family don't have to suffer through days without food or without basic supplies. Be safe and all the best. We talk again soon. And if my video you soup? Okay. So it goes still, because we come here too late. So this is the cow cod soup. Imani here. My husband wants a cow cod soup too. Yeah, but you have corn, essence of corn. Yeah, because it had corn in there. Thank you, darling. The corn soup here. Looks so good. Which soup you want, Brett? Corn or cow cod? This one? Alright, so my husband need one too, please. Thank you. You're welcome. I asked the gentleman to throw it away for you. And we're at the side of the road. We're in Manchester. Melrose Hill, and it's all outdoor dining. Well, there's really no dining because we're just on the street side eating some food. So I said dining, but I take that back. Let me see it. So this is hobby food. Wow, so happy. Man, I same thing again? That's mine over there on the file paper.
So now you eat yours right now?
Sitting. Oh yeah, get drink.